Welcome back. I'm here with another frog video as promised. Today we're working on the Exoteria 18 by 18 by 24 for the pair of dart frogs that I have here. Let's get into it. So I'm about to cut this background foam up. I've already carved some of the foam up before I recorded the video, before I picked up the camera. So let's finish carving this, and then we're going to silicone the background, and then we'll come back tomorrow and finish up and add the frogs in there. So let's get into it. I'm using the 100% silicone. You just find this at Home Depot. This is actually the brown color. It's going to help us fill the light gaps when we cover this white silicone. Sorry, when we cover this white expanding foam with the silicone and dirt. So as you guys can see, it's already like carved for the most part. You get all this shiny stuff off. As you guys can probably see, like this stuff is shiny here and it has like a porous backside. So we just use this, carve all that stuff off. I use this little knife here. I'm just gonna finish carving it, and that helps the silicone adhere to the background. So all right, so I'm like 99% carved up. I'm just gonna clean out the bottom of this, get all the little pieces off. I'm gonna try to vacuum the spare pieces off the background before I put the silicone on the back. Make sure when you use silicone you use gloves or a paintbrush, and try to be in a well-vented area because this stuff stinks. Not stinks, but it's just pretty, it has a strong smell. So let me clean this up and then I'll show you guys putting the silicone on the background. Alright, so I got in my bucket, I got some Eco Earth. I'm also going to crush up some magnolia leaves, like super fine, just for texture for the background. Mix that up. And I'm also going to add a little bit of sphagnum moss. And this is just for our color palette on the background, just to add a few different colors and textures. Alright, so this is what we've got. Once it's all mixed up, got a little bit of everything in here. We gotta add our silicone to the background, and then we'll stick this substrate onto the silicone, but you gotta be super quick, so I'm gonna do it one section at a time. So alright, so the left side wall is done. Now I just gotta knock off all the substrate off of the left side and the back wall. I'll silicone the back and the right side, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like once it's done. So the silicone takes about 24 hours to dry, so we'll come back tomorrow around the same time, vacuum the walls, and then we'll start working on putting our plants and our drainage system in the enclosure, and then we'll add our frogs after. So stay tuned to the end. And right now, if you're still here, drop a comment and guess what frogs are going in this new enclosure. See you guys tomorrow. Welcome back. It's the next day. The enclosure is done. It's been about 24 hours, so the enclosure is dry. So the next step, what we're gonna do is get this dirt out of the bottom, get it back into our bucket here, and then after we get it into the bucket, we're gonna add our drainage layer, put in our actual drain. We're gonna put in the drain, and we're actually gonna install it right here, and then we're gonna add the frogs in. Alright, as you guys saw in the last clip, the drain is installed. Now I'm gonna remove their old enclosure, fit in the new one. Man, it looks great. I've got it in there, got light on it. Let's test this drainage. We're just gonna pour this water in and drain it out. There we go, guys. The water's draining slowly but surely. a lot of this is about time and patience. So I think we need about one more day to add the frogs. The substrate barrier is in. I actually touched up some of these spots that were still showing after I vacuumed with silicone. So I'm going to give it another 24 hours. And then tomorrow I'll add the substrate and I'll add the frogs in. So stay tuned and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Welcome back. Today is the third and final day of the frog enclosure build. Today we're probably going to add the frogs in. But first thing we're going to do is add the substrate into the bottom. We got our substrate barrier in, which is just, we use window screen as our substrate barrier. And that's going to separate our drainage layer from our soil. But we're just going to do a few things today. We're going to add this organic potting soil. We're going to mix our substrate with some perlite, and we're also going to mix it with leaf litter and some plants. So then we'll do all that before we add the frogs in. So let's cut this bag open and just add some of this substrate into the tank. We'll just add like a little bit at a time, build it up along the edges. This is perlite. It's just to make the soil a little more easy to drain, because we want it to drain through the soil. We want the water to drain through the soil and then into this drainage layer, and then from the drainage layer through our newly installed drainage hose. And then we'll drain it into this bucket here, as you guys saw yesterday when I recorded. I'm gonna put that back there. And yeah, what we're gonna do is kind of try to mix this in there. Yeah, so now we have our thick layer of substrate. It's elevated towards the back to give us some depth and actually make this look a little more naturalistic than just like a regular cube tank. The next thing we're gonna do is add some of these cuttings, plant cuttings from our old tank that we actually have. So I'm gonna bury these in the back pretty deep. We'll just cut these plants. We got these cut into a few small pieces, so we'll kind of scatter them around the enclosure. So 2 plants in there so far. I used to grow pothos in my tanks, but I don't want to do that anymore because I feel like it takes over. Like this tank I did no pothos and it looks so much better. So I like this plant here, but I don't want to be repetitive, so I'm going to take a cutting from here. Just going to put this one in here along the back. And hopefully these plants do well and grow nice and big in this tank with the new frogs. Oh, here, one more plant that I actually like a lot that I'm going to add. And honestly, I don't know off the top of my head what the names of these plants are. So put a comment down and just be specific about where the plant is or which one you're talking about, and I can probably find the name for you. Yeah, if you're buying expensive plants, wait a couple of days. Feel free if you want, but I could care less. All my plants grow in my other tanks and I just use them and spread them out, so I don't really care if they trample these ones. I'll just replace it. But yeah, if you're starting a new tank, especially if you're like, it's your first tank, like you can wait a few days or a few weeks and let your cleanup crew get settled in. But I mean, I have plenty here, and honestly, I just don't like waiting. So I'm gonna set mine up today, and if I need to replace any plants or anything, then I'll do that when the time comes. So I think the next thing that we're gonna do is add leaf litter. This is live oak. I just get it from usually from my local reptile show, a vendor. But yeah, I just put some leaf litter. Your frogs aren't going to necessarily want to touch the ground. Let's put some dry leaf litter here. If you guys can see, I have like hundreds of springtails in here. And so what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna kind of scatter them around the enclosure, and they're gonna like clean up poop or anything else. In the enclosure. I think I got them all, or most of them at least. They're like these tiny little white bugs, and they kind of like clean up any decaying matter or anything like that. So I got one frog in the cup. We'll let him go in his new enclosure. This is actually the green terribilis. Actually, in the wild, they're one of the most poisonous dart frogs in the world. Hopefully they love their new enclosure, because this is where they will be for the rest of their lives. And I got the other one. So that's 2 out of 2. He's trying to jump out. He's going crazy. He does not want to be in here. Don't jump out, buddy. And I'm going to let them go. So there's 2 out of 2. Alright, but that's it, guys. This is a new frog enclosure. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Tune into the next video. And stick with us. Appreciate it. Peace.